Hello and welcome to Just One More Watch, and welcome today to my review of yet another Bulova. Bulova, I just can't resist their retro reissues. I'm like an insect drawn to that amazing bright light. But I just can't seem to keep one in my collection for more than about 10 minutes it seems. Let's see how long the Bulova Devil Diver GMT lasts. Ladies and gentlemen, place your bets. I love their back catalogue stuff, but I always find enough fault with it to sell it on. For example, the Aerojet would have looked so much better if they just cleaned up the design a little bit. The Precisionist is an awesome movement, but they put it in less than awesome watches, and the smaller Lunar Pilot still wasn't quite small enough for me. Today I have on my wrist a GMT that almost seems ashamed of its fourth hand. Let's flip the camera and have a look at it. If we can find it. Okay, I may have a bit of a poke at the Bulova Devil Diver GMT in the intro, and it may not be the last poke I have at it over the course of the next 10 minutes, but this isn't a roast. I really like this watch. I've got a soft spot for the brand, and I particularly like this Devil Diver range. I like it enough to spend my own hard-earned cash on it, put it that way. Do you know what though? For the first time ever, I paid for this one in installments. I got it on a kind of pay in 4 deal. Do you guys ever do that? First time I've done it. It was interest free though, so I thought, why not? The challenge for me though is going to be hanging on to it long enough, not flipping it, before I actually own the thing, before I make the final payment. So how much did I pay? Well, I paid a hell of a lot less than Bulova want to charge me. The Aussie RRP on this one is $1,950. That is a frankly ridiculous amount of money. I paid less than half of that. I say it every time I review a Citizen Group product. The RRPs are insane. If you want one, you should be paying about half of what the RRP is. So I got that one. As you can see, it's the full Lume dial. You guessed that from the intro, I'm sure. I got it from everyone's favourite Australian discount retailer, Starbuy, and I got a 3-year warranty with it. Not the 5-year that you get with a Citizen, but not too bad. Model reference, by the way, is 98B407, and here is my watch. But hang on, what's happened? I said this was a GMT. Count the hands. Minute hand, hour hand, second hand. Something's happened. The hand has fallen off. Oh no, there it is, hiding behind the second hand. Like I said, it's almost like it's ashamed of itself, this GMT hand. It is so small. If you want a GMT watch to use as a GMT watch, don't buy this GMT watch. So this is the third Bulova oceanographer that I've had on the channel. I reviewed the larger blue one a couple of years ago, and then I bought and reviewed the smaller 41mm orange version last year. Love that watch, love that shade of orange. What a shade of orange. I don't think I've ever seen orange like it. Now, because I've got quite a lot of experience with this oceanographer Devil Diver line of watches, I knew exactly what I was getting into, and I knew that I already enjoyed exactly what I was spending my money on. I knew that it fitted my wrist nicely. I think that's all the more important with this version. There are 3 different versions of this oceanographer GMT. I'll talk about the others a bit later on in the video. This is the only one that comes on this nice fitted rubber strap. Nothing worse though than buying a watch specifically for the rubber strap and then finding you're kind of between holes. You don't have the level of adjustment you do obviously with a bracelet, but I knew the dimensions worked for me. Those dimensions being 41.5mm in diameter. It is quite thick at 14.5, but it makes up for that with a compact 45mm lug to lug. 20 between the lugs, not that I have any intention of taking it off this strap, and on this strap it weighs in at 105 grams. That is a piece of delicious domed sapphire crystal. Water resistance, I'm going to honour the watch today, is 666 feet, and the movement in the back is a Miyota caliber 9075. There's nothing interesting to show you whatsoever here apart from the quick release spring bars for the integrated rubber band. It is a very simple screw-on stainless steel case back. So the Miyota 9075 is citizens' entry into the affordable four-hand automatic GMT movement fray. Pretty much out to combat Seiko's NH34 that was released a couple of years prior. Now this one is a traveller GMT rather than a caller GMT like the Seiko. What exactly does that mean, and why do people care about it so much? I don't really understand why people place such great emphasis on a GMT auto being a true GMT or a traveller GMT rather than a caller GMT. Let me show you. Alright, unscrew the crown, you get that pop, wind it forward to wind the movement. Now, when you pull the crown out to the first position, the movement does not hack. Instead, it's the hour hand that adjusts. So the theory is, if you are a genuine international jet setter and you're traveling between time zones, you don't have to reset your watch. Assuming it's accurate, you don't have to stop the second hand hacking the movement and then reset that as well as resetting your hour hand. So there we are, I've just gone back a time zone, I've just gone forward a time zone. I can even go backwards across the international dateline if I so choose, or forwards across the international dateline and changing a date. So to set this watch in the first place, you actually set the GMT hand, if you can find it, first. You set the GMT hand first and the minute hand, so we'll set this one at 1/4 to the hour, and then you go back and you adjust the hour hand. Now that is great if you're a genuine international jet setter. However, if you're wearing this GMT, as I'd imagine that most of the people watching this video will, as part of a rotation, as part of a collection, in some cases a vast and unruly collection, the problem is it doesn't have a quick set date. So every time you put this watch on, and it's not the 3rd, it is in fact the 24th of the month, then you have to do this. So you have to balance out what is more convenient, or rather what is more inconvenient to you. How many times are you crossing international datelines or between time zones, and how many times are you picking up a dead watch out of your box and setting it? That, I think, is where you should be thinking. That is where you should be deciding whether you want a true GMT or a caller GMT. And that, I think, is where you should be putting your money, not into any perceived snob value of one or the other. There we go, rant over, on to the case finishing. Case finishing on this one is very simple because it has been coated. This is coated in a delicious gunmetal grey colour. There's a little bit of kind of bronze in here as well. I really like this one tonally. Grey strap, slightly off-white cream. We've got that split colour bezel, full lume obviously. All tying in nicely with a gunmetal case finish as well. Unguarded crown. Now the bezel on this one is 60 click dive time. Not the best bezel action in the world. It's a little bit noisy and not really in a good way, but at least everything does line up as it should. The rubber strap is very nice. It's got this intricate retro cross-hatched pattern there, and it has these grey colour match stitches on either side. Believe me, the stitches are purely there for the aesthetic. They perform no function whatsoever. And it's a nice piece of hardware. Again, it's got that slightly bronzed gunmetal colour with the Bulova, with the old school Bulova logo etched into it. Alright, dial in hands, and I must admit I find this oceanographer just charming. I really like the looks. There are some inherent features that do restrict it. I mean, those hands are pretty small. I guess they couldn't have put a whopping GMT hand on there because it would have completely dominated the dial. It would have been too overbearing. You're rather restricted by what you can do with the GMT hand based on how big the other hands are. But yeah, I just love the way this one looks, and I particularly love those hour markers. If I show you them in relief there, if I show you the side profile, you can see they're little raised cylinders of, I presume, perspex or plastic or some kind of material there, held by little claw feet. It's almost like a kind of diamond in a ring. It's that type of mechanism. I think they look fantastic, and there's lume underneath those, as I'll show you in just a second. I also really like the internal Cyclops. I know some people are anti-Cyclops. I'm kind of pro-Cyclops generally, particularly when it's as neatly done as that, and it does give you a little bit of extra assistance when magnifying the date. Sector dial, you've got those kind of crosshairs. I love the Bulova old-fashioned script there. Applied oceanographer printed underneath, GMT, automatic snorkel 666 feet. And I love the colour. Cream, black, and then white for those GMT numerals 1 round to 23. Now, the similar but different, the bezel insert here is a crisper white with black, so the first 15 minutes is white, the second 45 minutes is in black. There are a couple of different versions of this one. This is a dive GMT, so you can still use this bezel for timing a dive, whereas the other two are GMT marked bezels and they lose that dive capability. Overall though, I think it is just gorgeous, if not particularly legible, because the size of some of the individual elements is a little bit small, shall we say. But this is the full Lume dial version, so it has a party piece, a trick up its sleeve, and it's a rather pleasing trick, I must say. Now, the Lume on this watch is so noticeable. It's one of these watches that glows when you walk into a darkened room. Really, really bright initially. But you can see they've kind of doubled up. Not only is the dial fully lumed and the bezel insert fully lumed, but the hands are lumed as well, which is just as well, because when I turn the speed up on this, the dial fades, the bezel insert fades, but those hour markers and the hands don't fade. That's what you're relying on for timekeeping all through the night. They're all still visible at the end of my 20-minute test. That's it on wrist. I've got a 7-inch wrist for your reference, and like I said, I was more than familiar with this watch. It's basically exactly the same set of dimensions as the orange one, so I knew that it wore nicely on me. I knew also that I would get a good fit from this fitted rubber strap. Doesn't really feel like 14.5mm thick. I guess the 0.5 comes from that kind of raised top hat sapphire crystal. So yeah, nice on wrist, no protrusion from the case back, short lug to lug, very well integrated rubber strap, very comfortable therefore. Legibility, well, okay, at least we have black surrounded hands against a white dial or kind of cream dial. That certainly helps, but they're not particularly big hands, and you see what I mean. The GMT hand is rather inconsequential, really. It just kind of disappears. Certainly, it is no more noticeable, arguably less noticeable than the second hand. Talking of that second hand, have a look at this official Bulova press shot. What colour is the second hand? Yes, it's black, the same as on my watch. Have a look at this press shot. What colour is the second hand? Well, it's not black, is it? It's white. Check this press shot out, we're back to black again, and if you check this press shot out, we're back to white again. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they've changed this design at some point. Maybe I've got an old version, maybe I've got a new version. The listing, ironically, for this watch in the place I bought it from had both different styles of press shots. So anybody know what's going on, Bulova? You care to chime in on that one perhaps? As I said, there are 3 versions of this altogether. There's a kind of Pepsi colour, the full Lume that I've got, and a root beer version as well. The other 2 aren't dive bezels, they are proper GMT bezels. So you take your pick. I went for the dive one specifically because it had a full Lume dial. But it seems that the Lume dial's not the only one that has a problem with the legibility of the GMT hand. This is from Hodinkey's article about these watches. Credit Hodinkey, please don't sue me Hodinkey, I love you Hodinkey. Can you even see the GMT hand on the root beer version? No, not really. It's so small. Surely they could have done something to make it more pronounced. And then there's the price. 1950 Aussie, or the equivalent in your local currency, is a joke for this. I paid just under half, and even then I probably feel that I paid a little bit too much. Particularly as the 3-hander is available for less than half of that. So double the price just for that 4th hand that is barely noticeable in the first place. Yes. This one has me scratching. You have to be a complete idiot and you have to be a big fan of the brand and their retro reissues, just like me, to buy one, I think. Otherwise, you're probably best buying the 3-hander, saving your money, or getting a GMT that's actually not ashamed of what it does. So there you have it. I had a bit of a moan, but I still really like this watch. I really like the Devil Diver range in general, despite rather than because of their shortcomings. It's a cool looking watch, it's got a great colour palette, but unless you really, really need the world's smallest GMT hand, you're probably better off saving your money and buying the three-hander instead. Well done for making it all the way to the end of the video. If you like Bulova retro reissues as much as I like Bulova retro reissues, why not check out one of these two? I'll see you again in the next one.